Hey guys, it's Chandler, and welcome to the Healing Heroes.
I promise you.
I'm Chandler Stroud, an executive, wife, and busy mom of two, who after years of living with anxiety, health struggles, and an unshakable feeling like I should be happier, made a profound discovery that changed everything. Join me on a journey where unexpected paths lead to healing and more happiness. On this show, we'll explore unconventional ways to unlock more joy in your own life with the help of my very own healers and trusted advisors, the Healing Heroes. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I am your host, Chandler, and I am here today with my hero and confidence coach, Cait DeMello, who also, as many of you know that have been listening from the start of the show, specializes in tarot card readings. And I have worked with Cait across many different disciplines, modalities. We've done tarot together. We've done inner child. We've done parts work. We've done breath work. And fun fact, we actually have another reset breath work session this afternoon. So I have a full day of Cait. I'm so lucky. And today we're focusing on tarot in particular because, as I said in our earlier November episodes, I have coined this month November, as in K-N-O-W, Vember. This is the month where we are releasing 4 episodes, one a week, that really inspire you to go inward and tap into your intuition in new, fun and really exciting ways, blending the mystical with the more rational approaches to getting to know yourself on a deeper level. So I really hope that this month, as you tune in and listen to these episodes, you're encouraged to pause, reflect, maybe get a little bit more curious about yourself, and think of all of the fun and new ways we talk about on the show to really tap into that inner knowing and access your intuition more regularly, not just for those big decisions that you have to make in life, but even the small ones. Like, as I said in a previous episode, what to order for lunch, like really know what your body is saying, feel into decisions versus just thinking about them. And I have found tarot to be such a great gateway to accessing that kind of knowledge and information that can only come from within. And I love when I first met Cait and she was telling me what she does. She actually used to work in a middle school where she would use tarot to connect with the kids, to help them see their behaviors, their beliefs, and their experiences through a less defensive lens. It was a great way for them to get curious about themselves using a tool versus attaching personal stories to how they were showing up in the world. And I think it really can be used that way, as can human design, as can astrology, psychic mediumship, all the things that we talk about on the show that really help you hear yourself again on a much deeper level. And so with that, I am really excited for today's episode because Cait is here to give all of you a live tarot card reading. Yes, we are doing a collective reading for all listeners around what to expect between now and the end of 2025 and what you can learn or think about in preparation for 2026 and all it has to offer. So I really encourage you to stay with us today. I am so excited for this reading with Cait. We've never done this before on the show. I mean, this is like fully unscripted, no prepared questions. We are just fully in it live, riffing one-to-one with all of you. So really excited for that. But before we dive in, let me just quickly introduce Cait for all of our new listeners joining us today. Cait DeMello is a confidence and empowerment coach who describes herself as an inner power activator on a mission to help women return home to the power that resides within so they can heal from the inside out and start to make their biggest dreams a reality. She has a master's in counseling and is certified in 20 plus coaching modalities, including inner child, parts work, and breath work. Cait, welcome back to the show. I'm so excited to have you today.
Oh my gosh, this might be one of my favorite episodes to record.
Oh, I love hearing that. I am also on the edge of my seat, wondering what the cards are going to tell us today. Before we begin, Cait, I think it would be really helpful, if you don't mind, to talk a little bit about how you define tarot and how you found it to be so helpful in your line of work as a confidence and empowerment coach in particular, just so that we're all starting from the same baseline before we get into the actual reading.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tarot is a deck of cards, about 78 cards. It's split into major arcana, which are like big life events, and they kind of tell a story. And then minor arcana, which we've come to know today as our modern day playing cards, kind of like the um, clubs, diamonds, that type of thing. And that's actually where playing cards came from.
Cool. I
So,
didn't know that. That's a fun
yes,
fact.
I know. So tarot cards have been used for hundreds of years, for centuries. And really, they used to be used back in Italy to advise the king on, what to do, what's coming, all of that stuff. So it's really been around for quite a long time. And it's a divination tool. So divination is really using some sort of connection tool to speak to the divine or to receive messages. So for me, the way that I use tarot, I really see it as my connection to my inner knowing, because our inner knowing stems from, our connection to God, our connection to universe, source, whatever it is that you trust and believe in. And so the way that I use tarot is really to, what I tell all of my clients, and you've heard this too, I don't claim to know the future. I don't claim that in my own reading. Some people have that gift. I think it's incredible. I don't. I also don't think it's my place to know someone else's future. And I will never give a yes or no answer because it's not my answer to give. So those are the only two things I want people to know going forward in this reading. You're not going to get a yes, you should do it. No, you should not. And you're not going to get your future foretold. The way that I use tarot is really a way for me to dive deeper, gain deeper insight, shift perspective or see a different perspective, gain clarity around a situation, or help myself understand things in a different way. And that's how I use it with my clients. And I can combine it with coaching because things will come forward. If you think of a Rorschach test, those ink blot tests, it
Yes.
it can be very similar, and some subliminal and subconscious things may come forward for you as you're listening. So listen to that, trust that, and allow that to be your inner voice speaking up. And what's so cool about things like tarot is it creates that space of wonder. Whether or not you believe in it, it creates that space of wonder for things to come up because you don't have to take it so seriously. You don't have to. It's not like I'm telling you exactly what life is going to be. It's very similar to astrology in that regards, where it's not something that you have to take so seriously that you create pressure within yourself. It allows for that wonder, that curiosity to come through. And I think that that is something that we all need in our lives.
I'm all for that. We actually, even very recently, have talked about the importance of play and finding that childlike side of yourself again. I think it's so easy to get caught up in being a serious adult with all of these responsibilities, and there's so much going on, and we're so in our heads. But, this is just a great way to let down your guard and feel playful with something for a little bit. And I
Yeah.
personally have loved that. I said in my newsletter this month that I have started because of you. I now have multiple tarot decks, one of which is from you. It's still one of my favorites, the water deck. I pull a card at the end of every day, and I just love internalizing the message. I still look at the cheat sheet to see what it means or what it stands for that comes with each deck. But then I think about how it applies to my life, and I journal about that. And it's such a great writing prompt. It's such a great way of thinking about a situation, like you said, from a different perspective. And it really can become a tool if you let it. If you stay open-minded, it really can. And I've so enjoyed. I mean, I am not an expert in tarot, but I've loved playing with it, to your point, and just being lighthearted with it and not taking it so seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think honestly, I feel like that's the best way for people to even get involved in it is to allow it to be play. I think we take our healing journey so seriously all the time, and I have to be healed and I have to fix this. And I think, sometimes that's just keeping us further from being healed. It's almost like
Mm,
we're kind of replacing the problem with a new problem. Like I need this thing to fix me, or I need to be fixed in order to XYZ. And I think that's what a lot of my clients will come to me with too, is it's, if only I had the money, then I could, finally feel worthy. Or if only I had the boyfriend, then I'd be complete. My resume that nobody's paying attention to will finally be complete. And it's like, we think we have to heal so that we can get all of these things in our lives so that we can finally be worthy. And it's like, you just gotta remember that you are.
yeah. Yeah. So, with that, I'm excited to kick off the reading. Now, Cait, before we begin, I have one question because I'm sure our listeners are wondering, like, how do you think about doing a reading for the collective of our listeners as you were about to do? And how do people know if this is for them or not? I'm very curious to hear your answer to this question.
So for everything moving forward today, everything that I do today, you get to decide whether or not this is for you. But the way that it works is kind of like you read an astrology prediction for either the next month or even just for your own sign, and it's for that collective sign. This is like a collective reading. So what I'll be doing is tapping into the collective energy just to kind of see what's coming forward. And just like astrology, sometimes it really hits with what you're going through, and sometimes you're just not at that stage. So take it in, allow it to resonate, and just see what comes through for you. And again, have fun with it. See where it fits. See if there's a nugget that you can take away from it that allows you to look at your life in a different way, or allows you to look at whatever's coming up for you in a different way, so that you don't constantly feel so stuck. And I think, it's up to you to use it however you want and however feels good and right for you.
I think that's a great message and hopefully lands with everyone before we jump into this reading. So thank you for offering that, Cait. I hand it over to you to kick off our 2025 into 2026 reading.
Oh my God, amazing. Okay. So anyone who is listening and really wants to get the most out of this reading, I'm gonna shuffle the cards a couple of times. And I want you to do whatever feels right for you to get yourself in a space to receive a message that is in your highest good. Typically what I will do is I'll sit and I'll just kind of say a little prayer, allow what comes through me to be in everyone's highest good. You can do something similar to that. You can just sit and breathe. But just take a moment to get yourself into an open and receptive position, open and receptive energy, and allow what comes through to be in your highest good. Okay. So the reading that I'm going to be doing today is an overall energy reading, and it centers around what is the challenge coming up over the next, let's say, month and a half, or through the end of 2025 as we head into 2026. So we've got one card that's going to represent the challenge. We've got another card that represents the latent energy, or the energy that we're bringing to the challenge that we just want to take another look at. We're going to have a card that's about the energy that we need to release, a card that represents the energy we need to call in, and then we're going to have a perspective shift and some advice as to how to handle all of this and put it together. So typically a tarot reading will cover you for the next 1 to 3 months kind of a thing. So this energy is going to be very present for the next 1 to 3 months, depending on when it hits you and depending on when you receive the message. So this reading that I'm going to do, it'll kind of take us into the end of 2025, and how you end something is how you begin something. So it'll be that beginning energy, and the progression of the reading will help walk you through what's currently present and how do we have to shift that and alchemize that so that we can start 2026 on the right foot. A lot of the cards are in the reverse position, which tarot readers can interpret that in any different ways. Some people ignore it. I interpret it with what comes through, and what comes through for me is this is a time of reflection. This is a time of revision. This is a time of looking back on the way that we've been handling things and really evaluating whether or not we want to continue handling things in the same way. So it's almost like second chance opportunity type of energy. And
Mm.
so the challenge that we're currently experiencing, so the very first card is a big card. So we are all in a big, big space. It's the strength card and it's reversed. So there's a lot of resistance to owning our own strength. And the challenge that we're facing is looking for the strength that we have outside of us versus looking at it within us. And so, the big challenge as we close out this 9 year, which is so much ending and so much releasing and so much, the 9 is like the penultimate number in the tarot cards, so it goes 9 and then 10, and so that's where all of the releasing happens so that the end can occur. So when it comes to our strength, we're at this point in our lives where, and collectively, where we have to really start taking a look at what do we determine as strength? What are our own strengths? What have we been telling ourselves? What's the story around strength that we've been telling ourselves? And where have we gotten it wrong? And where does my strength actually come from? And finding the places within that the strength comes from. So the challenge that we're facing is listening, like, to put it on a more material level and a more realistic level. Where am I letting other people tell me my worth? Where am I letting the things that I own tell me my worth? Where am I letting other people's decisions or society's decisions or expectations of me? Where am I letting that tell me what I'm worth? And the challenge is going to be recognizing that, bringing awareness to it, and breaking that. And so the rest of the year and how we end this year and enter into the next is all about harnessing our inner strength and figuring out where that comes from and how to tap into that. And so when I go into what is the latent energy that we are approaching this with, and again, remember, a lot of these cards are in the reverse position. So they're kind of in retrograde. They're kind of like, take a look at me because you're the one preventing this from happening. And so the card that's in the latent phase is the Five of Swords. And so the Five of Swords is all fives are challenge. All fives come with some sort of challenge that needs to be worked through. And so we're looking at this as a fight. But what people don't realize is when we have that inner fight and pressure and that frustration against how we should be versus how we are and all that stuff, we're in survival fight. We're in that like, it may feel like freeze because we're stuck, but you're fighting. Your inner strength, your inner worth, your inner knowing, it should never be a fight. And so can we turn it into something else? And I think this is the way that I read cards is I read what comes through for me, and sometimes I'll get images, sometimes I'll get, some other things will come up, and the traditional card of the Five of Swords is some people are walking away while someone else holding swords, and it's like, what are you holding on to that really does need to walk away? What are you holding on to that is either defining your worth or getting in the way of you finally feeling worthy? What are you clinging to at the end of this year that needs to be released as you go into 2026? Because the more that you cling to it, the more you create resistance to what can be. So that is the energy that we're bringing to the challenge. So what do we need to release? We need to release. It's funny because the Father of Cups came up. And so the Father of Cups is this, it can be father energy. So some people might interpret this as either part of your own personality, an inner part of you that resonates with the masculine of emotion, which is like, I need my emotions to be a certain way. I can only show them at a certain time. And, for some people out there, this may correlate to the father wound, where it's not necessarily safe to feel your emotions. It's not necessarily safe to express your emotions. And what this is really asking of us is we have to, if we go back to the challenge card of that inner strength, we have to find strength in those emotions. We have to let go of those preconceived notions. We have to let go of the part of us that's not allowing us to process through anything that we're holding on to. And I know that it sounds like it always comes back to our emotions, but what's really interesting, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but the perspective shift card, which is coming, is the Mother of Cups. And so this whole challenge of the lion is surrounded by the mother and the father. And so we have to release the father and again, it's not men or women. That's not what I'm saying. It's this overly masculine energy, and masculine meaning structure. Sometimes people prefer yin and yang, but it's the structure and the motivation and the drive and all of that stuff. And when it comes to our emotions, we really have to be much more nurturing with them. We really have to be much more understanding of them and not see them as weaknesses, but see them as messages. And I think that, when we release this control of our emotions, but we allow the space for them, then we get to process through them in a way that is productive for us, in a way that allows us to tap into that inner strength. And so what might that look like? I mean, I always like to equate the yin and yang energies to the banks of a river and the water flowing. And so, the more of that masculine type energy is the banks of the river, and the feminine energy is the flow. And so where is that river dammed? Where is that river blocked? And so allowing, the water to move through. So if you are constantly feeling frustrated and not expressing yourself and holding back on what you want to say, if you are like not speaking up in meetings or in a relationship and things don't feel right, but you're justifying behavior versus owning what you see and how you feel. So you're kind of like replacing how you feel with how you think others view you, or you're prioritizing that.
Mm.
That is the constriction of the emotion. And I'm not saying to explode on those people or anything like that. What I'm saying is like take some time to yourself to really feel through and connect with, the best description for this is like those relationships where there's confusion and you're not certain, but you're too afraid to speak up because you don't know what they're going to say. But then at the same time, it's like if you do speak up, they kind of do the gaslighty thing of like, no, that's not true or whatever. And so you're ignoring how you feel, and it feels really confusing, but that's your answer. And so you're
Yeah.
believing someone outside of yourself. And that again is giving up that strength. So,
Mhm.
so when it comes to, that Father of Cups energy that we want to release the part of yourself that is holding you back from true expression. And release the part of you that's not allowing you to actually feel what's coming up for you. So I hope that was an example of how this can show up. And that can be, it doesn't have to be in romantic relationships. It can be friendships, family, it can be work,
Mm.
it can be different things like that. Okay.
Love
So,
that. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that.
absolutely. So what do we want to call in? It's so interesting because we are literally calling in the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of
Wow.
Pentacles is the ending of the Pentacles. So we're calling in, and it's in the reverse position. So what's coming through for me is we are calling in the end of an era of telling ourselves we are not worthy. Calling in the end of an era of saying that I don't belong, and I don't matter. And the Ten of Pentacles is this card of legacy. And so it's this card of looking back on what you've built and what you've created and knowing that you've made your mark. And what I think it's really calling for us to do is not necessarily have I made my mark so that other people can feel it? Have I made my mark in this life so that I can feel it? Do I feel
Mm.
like I'm making a mark in my own life? And I think what we really want to start calling in is, what is that mark that I want to leave on this earth? And from there, that is your inner strength. That is your inner wisdom. that is you, essentially.
I love that question. And actually, I am going to make a plug because our second week of November, I released a solo episode where I went deep on intuition, tapping into that to find a purpose. Why are you here? How do you think about the legacy you're leaving behind? So, if you want to go deeper into this question in particular, I encourage you to listen to that episode and what it means to live in alignment where your inner truth and your outer actions are in integrity with one another, because that's really what Cait's referring to here, as well as some ways of thinking about how to build that legacy from a place of truth within you. Once you tap into that intuition, that's really when you can know, like, here's what I'm meant to do, and here's how I can serve and live into what brings me joy and what energizes me while serving others. And so, just a plug to listen to that, because I think that's a really good, tangible way to break down what you're saying here, Cait, about, thinking about, like, how do we live in a place that is true to who we are versus looking outside of us for that kind of instruction.
Yeah. I love that so much because, when it comes to legacy and when it comes to what you're leaving behind, I think that can be another way that we start to outsource what matters and outsource, like, have I left a mark? Do other people think I've left a mark? Is it enough? And I love what you're saying, and purpose is not something that's outside of us. It's not something that we actually like. I hear people say all the time, "I just want to find my purpose." It's not something you find. It's something
Yeah.
you are. It's something you live.
Something you
And
remember.
ooh, that one hits deep.
Mm-hmm. You know it. Everybody on this
Oh,
planet knows what their purpose is deep down.
mhm,
That's why tapping into this intuition, why
100.
going inward and getting to know yourself at a soul level is so important, because the answer is within you. You already know it. You just have to consciously become aware of it. And
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about. So it's
yeah.
so powerful.
And you also have to choose it
Ugh, that's
because
a great point, Cait. Yes, you may already know it, but are resisting that choice because it's not what you were told is acceptable or
mhm,
what other people do.
yeah,
And that's also a part of the episode. Living into your truth and your purpose is often not the path of least resistance, but it is the path of deepest resonance. And so when you think about it that way, and I gave examples in my own life of where my purpose was guiding me in a place that was not what I was taught is acceptable or what I thought I should do.
1,000%. I think it's fantastic, and I think that I also the more that we create that the reason that I bring almost like tangible examples into this is because so if this were your reading, things are probably coming up for you in your life that you're thinking about and that you are like, "Oh my gosh, this applies." So if we were in a one-to-one reading, I would be wanting you to bring that out so that I could then coach you on it because, that's part of what I do in my readings. So I think that like having these real moments of connection where you can bring forward what it is that you're doing and they can hear it in relation to the cards, I think it's amazing. So it
Okay.
just furthers the deepening of the learnings. The shift in perspective that we need, that was the Mother of Cups card. That was the so we need to release the hold that we have on our emotions and we have to start being more gentle with them. We have to start being more compassionate with ourselves as we experience the challenge, as we experience the uncertainty of our worth. And what that means is it's not like go have a meltdown or it's not like stomp your feet and say, I'm a victim. What that means is, okay, there is hardship in the world. I mean, look outside of our door. There's so much going on. This is just saying, like, be with yourself in a way that allows you to experience what you're experiencing without making it wrong. So in the example of that relationship where the woman is confused and her partner is help contributing to that confusion, separate. Be with yourself. Ask yourself questions. Stop basing your judgment of the situation on what the other person is telling you is happening. Be with yourself. How do I feel? I feel confused. What's contributing to the confusion? I'm not sure what's real. I'm not sure what's true. What's true for me? What's true for me is this doesn't feel good. How does it feel? It feels hurtful. It feels scary. It feels sad. And then that's getting to your truth. Is this right for me? It is not right for me. And that doesn't necessarily mean the relationship, but that means like what's happening. This isn't right. So now what's your course of action? And so that's where the Mother of Cups comes in, and she's gentle and she's nurturing and she's protective of the self, not the other. And protective of the self, not in a way of defenses up, but protective of the self in the way of I am allowed to exist. I am allowed to be here. I am allowed to take up space. I am allowed to have the emotions that I am having, even if people don't agree, even if people don't understand, because I understand.
So important, Cait.
It is. That one felt like it came through real strong.
Yeah, I can see that. But I feel it. I feel it too. It's good.
Sometimes
it's really good.
it just happens like that. So the advice that you take moving in is it's the grief card. It's another 5. It's not going to be advice that we like. It's not going to be advice that feels good. It's not going to be this life always gets better advice. The advice is move through it, feel it, allow it. Allow the different cycles that happen in grief. Allow the anger, allow the sadness, allow the frustration. And the more that you allow it and the more that you move through it and the more that you honor that process, the more that you come to the other side. And the more that you come to the other side with strength and not with victim. And the more you come to the other side with creativity and not constipation. The way that you get to the other side, it now is with clear energy instead of all of these stagnant remnants of your past life and whether from you when you were a kid or things that were passed down from your lineage or even true past lives. You are clear because you're moving through it. So grieve what you don't have. Grieve what you never got so that it doesn't have a hold on you.
Okay. Heard loud and clear. I mean, not the most uplifting of advice. You're right. Not what we wanted to hear, but I can't say I'm totally surprised given the energy we're living in right now and what a lot of the astrologers, tarot card, intuitive guides I now follow, because given my work and what's popped up for me in the algorithm on Instagram, it's pretty consistent. Like this energy is ripe for this kind of work. And as we say all of the time on the show, like the joy, the cracking that next ceiling is always on the other side of hardship. It really, these challenges make way for better. And so if you can reframe these difficult periods and the advice we're getting from Cait in terms of feel through whatever those difficult and uncomfortable emotions are, feel through them, like there are clearer skies on the other side. There always are. It has certainly been true for me. And I actually think if you can reframe pain and discomfort, you're ahead of 99% of the population, and you will find there's magic on the other side of that pain if you can actually feel it.
I couldn't agree more. And I think we've got to remember that as we end a 9-year and enter into a 1-year, it is the end of a cycle. It is the breaking. It's the phoenix rising. It's the shedding, the molting of skin and the releasing of what no longer works. And so in any type of a loss, in any type of move forward, there is a grief process. Whether it's something joyous that you enter into, it comes at the cost of leaving something behind, a new job, having kids. You have a different way of life that you're now entering into. And I think that even though you may be entering into the best era of your life because it is a fresh start, it is 2026, it is your freaking year, girl. And there's fear that might hold you back. There's the fear of leaving behind something that, like a security blanket.
Yeah. The
And
familiar.
so, yeah. And so there, life is a process of grieving, and there is joy in that grief too. And it's just unprocessed love. I think, who was it? There's an actor that talks about losing his mom. It's one of the Spider-Men, I think. And he talks about losing his mom and how he'll cry and he'll feel grief. And he's like, but to me, that grief is all the love that I never got to share with her in person. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't see it as a negative. I don't see it as anything other than this is the love that I don't get to share with her. So I'm going to move through it. I'm going to hold it. And so, the frustrations in your life, how can those be something different to you? How can that be less of a frustration and more of a sign of, okay, now I feel energized because I know what I don't want? Or, and a motivator, or how can you just shift the way? And that's what this is all about, is shifting perspective. How can you shift the way that you are looking at the things in your life that you see as a challenge so that you come from a place of inner strength?
I think that's a beautiful way of summarizing this reading for our listeners, Cait. Thank you so much for taking the time to offer this kind of insight into ourselves and to what's coming and how to tap into that energy in the weeks and months ahead. This is such a beautiful way to end our November month of tapping into that intuition. So, really appreciate you being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, it was an honor. It was an honor. And if anybody wants a personal reading, you know where to find me.
Yes. And she does do monthly readings in our newsletter for the Healing Heroes guys. So go to healingheroespodcast.com and sign up to get those monthly newsletters so that you can get Cait's monthly tarot reading. It's always so much fun when that comes through. And to everyone tuning in, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please share it with friends and don't forget to subscribe to the show. You can also visit, as I said, healingheroespodcast.com to get more resources, meet our heroes, and share your ideas for future episodes. Thanks for listening, everyone. And until next time, remember, be curious, be courageous, and be kind to yourself. You've got this.